right. Really pleased with how the weekend went. For that matter, really pleased with how the past 2 months have gone. Roster building, it's 12 months a year. It never stops, but these 2 months are critical, and really excited and proud of the personnel guys upstairs and how they attacked it, how they stayed with it. We used every resource we could, every different way to acquire guys that we thought were right for us. They did a great job in identifying, and they also did a great job in then going out and securing the guys that we felt we needed for this team. So really proud of that, proud of the collaboration with the coaching staff. They put a lot of work into it, and it goes unnoticed sometimes, but they do an exceptional job in this area as well. And with that, who's first?
The last time we talked to you, I would have said, hey, you're going to add what you've added in that defensive line room.
Yeah.
What do you think your reaction would have been, and what has it been since adding Dexter?
You know, our plan is always to add as many good pieces as we can, and you know, really the star of the show is Katie and how she was able to fit it all together. I mean, we're at the top of the league in spending, and we're making it work, and she makes that work, and it was exceptional because we had opportunities come to us that we weren't expecting financially, and she was able to still make it work, which was sensational. We've layered in a lot of costs this year, next year, and those things are factors as we go forward, but we'll manage them the best way that we can.
What's the feeling like as you decide, I'm going to make this Dexter Lawrence trade, and kind of can you describe that feeling for you, maybe making that sort of trade for the first time in your career?
Yeah, I felt good getting Big Dex in here. You know, he's a guy that we've had high opinion of, you know, since he was at Clemson. He's a real guy, and you know, and these things don't happen very often, and it's not very often you get a chance to acquire an All-Pro for a price that you think is acceptable, and it was a process getting that done, but it worked out for both sides, and I think it has to work out for both sides in order for something like that to come together. But he fit exactly what we felt we needed. He's going to elevate the people next to him and the people behind him, and that's good. And we've got a lot of other guys there that are going to elevate those people as well.
Duke, when you were doing maybe simulations before the Dexter trade, how much was it a factor that when you did them and you got to 10, you looked around and go, those just aren't guys we want, or just the cost of doing business, giving up that 10th pick to get Dexter?
Yeah, I don't give up the 10th pick in the draft. You know, I enjoy the draft, and I think adding those young players is a real positive. But, you know, we do an analysis of who we might be giving up. You never know, you know, who the first 9 picks are going to be. But we do those analysis, and we look at who we might be foregoing to get this done, and we felt like whoever it was a good move for us. And that's why we went forward with it and tried to make it work. And you have to make it work for the Giants as well. And that pick was attractive enough to make it work.
Obviously, Duke, there was a lot of emphasis on your end to rebuild the defense, rework it, however you want to phrase it. What was the thinking internally between the players you liked? Obviously, you liked the linebackers the way they are. You like DJ, you like Dax, and the pieces that you had to add. What was the thinking, the conversations on all of the pieces that you added?
Yeah, we're trying to put a group together that's complete, but that will play together as well. And you don't get opportunities in every position group. So you have to take advantage of the opportunities you get when they're in front of you. And it might not be the exact position group you want, but it's an opportunity that elevates our football team. And that's how we look at the draft as well. We're looking for opportunities to elevate our football team, whether it's the ideal position at the moment or not. We're looking for the best players available, and we attack free agency in that way a little bit. That's more positional driven from the onset, but then you get things that come at you that you might not have expected, and you say, hey, this is also a good move. We need to consider doing this.
This is probably the most aggressive that y'all have been in terms of, you know, going out and getting Dexter, and maybe how you structure things financially in certain ways. Why do you think that is this offseason, that y'all have been more aggressive than usual?
Every offseason is different, Ben. I don't know, I've never had two identical offenses or off-seasons. It's a factor of need and opportunity meeting, and sometimes the need is there without the opportunity, and sometimes the opportunity is there without the need, and you have to decide whether you want to take advantage of it or not. But this offseason presented opportunities for us with guys that we had targeted and liked, and we went for those opportunities. You know, whether it was unrestricted free agency or whether it was guys who had been released by their teams or guys who have been traded, we kind of look at every angle. You can't put that together at the onset. You have to be able to adapt and be flexible, and that's what we were when the Dexter thing came upon us, and the opportunity to do that. We had to be flexible because it was something that was meaningful for our football team and would elevate us all.
With the Dexter trade, you mentioned Katie, you mentioned statement ownership. Did that take some time, some convincing? How did those conversations evolve over time with all of you guys up there?
We meet all the time, and there wasn't anybody that wasn't for trying to get it done, whether it's the compensation or whether it's, the financial package that would come with them if we did get the opportunity to talk to them about that, and how that would fit this year, not only this year, but going forward. And those are challenges that we've accepted, and we're going to be working through those challenges as we go the next couple of years. And but the opportunity to add those players outweighed the challenges, and we're willing to go through the challenges to make it work. And you can't just build a team on individuals. And so the group that's in there right now, they have to come together and be a football team and finish games. And we think we've got some finishers. We didn't have enough finishers last year. This year we think we do, but they've got to come together as a football team, and it's got to be about 11 playing as one when we're out there.
What makes Dexter special, where you said it's worth it to give up a valuable draft asset, obviously the contract stuff as well. You paid a lot for him, and obviously you think it's worth it, but what makes him special to make him worth it?
His individual traits are rare. He's rare as a person, his desire and ethic. He's very experienced. He knows techniques. He anticipates what they're going to run against him. He's hard to move. He can invert the pocket. He can get on edges. He's athletic. He's long. He can disrupt the passer in a lot of different ways. And he can take on so others can do that as well. And so guys like Dexter, there's not very many of them around the league, and that was one of the reasons that we said this opportunity is worth doing.
It's obviously not every day you trade the number 10 pick. Have you considered in previous years trades like this that maybe didn't work out, or was this really the first time you ever pursued a trade?
We consider trades every year with most teams, because teams are calling around. Do you have interest? What would the level be you would be looking for? The reason that more of them don't happen is that the need and the compensation and the cap situation don't all align, and they aligned in this well enough to where we jumped on it. But we talk to teams all the time about guys.
When you look at now that the draft is over, on the defensive side of the ball, you guys have essentially added to every position except for linebacker. We've asked Zach about it, but from your perspective, can you discuss the state of the linebacker position and maybe why you guys didn't add there?
I don't think we went into it saying we're not going to add at any position. Again, it's opportunities that come up, and probably the best thing we did for our linebacker room is what we did for the D-line room. And that's going to elevate those guys. And I have real belief in the guys that we have. They have full seasons under their belt. They have really good production for rookies, and they're going to grow in our scheme, and they're going to be really good players. And I think we have depth behind them. Doesn't mean we won't look. We're always looking. This is a 12-month thing. This isn't just a 2-month thing. But in this 2 months, the opportunity wasn't there to add to that group, and we accept that because we have guys that we believe in there.
The other trade of the weekend, the Jets to get the extra, to get 2 fourths. What was attractive there, and what did you see from that, from that?
Yeah, it's, not many trades get done, or they get done, but not nearly as many as are talked about between teams as the draft is going on. We have a lot of teams, and would you guys be willing to do this, and would you guys be willing to do this? And then you look at your board and you have a stack there that you think, wouldn't it be great if we could get two of these guys? We had moved our fifth round back, and so that put a little press on our stack of players. And wouldn't it be great if we could get back into the fifth? And then we got the opportunity to actually move that all the way up into the fourth. And so it was good. It's a risk. You could lose all the guys that are on your stack. And we took the risk there, and we didn't lose them. And we felt really good at the end of the day that we got guys that we had targeted right there.
How do you see those guys? What's the projection on Lou and Young?
Lou and Young.
Yeah.
Well, we're obviously very high on them because we drafted them,
Right.
and we moved some picks around to do it. But they're both players with high ceilings. They're both players from big time programs. They're both players that have competed against the top level competition. They were guys that all of our draft choices were guys that as we went through the process of college scouting, which is a year-long process, guys start to surface for us in our minds. Those guys started to surface for us, and when that happens, they become targets for you on draft day. It's that simple. Every touch point impresses you a little more. And there's a ton of players that aren't with us, that did the same thing. We had, I think we had 300 and something draftable grades out, and we probably had very high opinion for us of about 150 guys that we would love to add. So that's just the way the draft is. But those were guys that were high on our targets. All of our draft choices were high targets for us as we went through the process.
In recent years, you guys have drafted, especially in the mid-rounds, players who had a shot to starting roles very quickly. This year, with some of the upside you guys drafted in the middle rounds, was there a conscious approach to not necessarily try to address this position or that position, but take a wider view with your middle round picks?
Yeah, I think, after free agency, our team is pretty complete. We didn't have a lot of holes. We have a lot of guys that played a lot of football. We've got young guys that are just starting to find their groove and play really well for us. So it frees you up a little bit. You don't want to be drafting for starters. If your draftees become starters, that's great. But you don't want to be reliant on them to start immediately, and that's not where our team is. Our team is more mature than that, particularly our offense. Now you have to layer in young guys that are going to be able to take over roles, and you want them to take over roles as quickly as they can and as quickly as they're up to it and as quickly as needed. And so, it wasn't a conscious choice, but that's just the way our team is right now.
Also, you've typically, just look at the history, drafted 260, 280-pound defensive ends, bigger guys. How maybe a bit different in that regard? What led to kind of going with a different profile of player than maybe you guys have drafted historically?
Oh, I think we've drafted all types. I think the league continues to evolve and change, and it somewhat is dependent on what you have on the rest of your defensive line. It's what you'll accept on the outside and what you're looking for. But there's been very good rundown players that are 245 pounds playing the edge. And there's been excellent pass rushers who are 290 pounds playing the edge. So it's an individual basis and how that guy uses what he has from a body standpoint to be effective. And so we're open to all types. We don't have a lot of minimums and maximums that we have to have. Obviously, the bigger, faster, stronger, tougher, more productive, smarter guy we take. But
Obviously, you want talent. But the intangibles, how do you feel about the way the roster is built now with the intangible element and what you brought in?
I think I believed in a lot of guys we had in the building ending last year intangibly, because I think we have a lot of guys that really want to be great. one thing is that with the guys that we brought in free agency, they know how to be great. They have been great, and they've been on great teams. They've seen it. They've been to championships. They understand it. It's not too big for them. You can clearly see that. It's one of the attractive things about trading a 10th pick for an all-pro. Well, you know exactly what you're getting, and you're getting immediate impact, and that was something that was a big decision point for us. We get immediate impact instead of impact as we go, and so that was important. But I really feel great about what we have in the locker room to lead. Now it's got to naturally occur, and the players have to hold each other accountable to the standard that the coaches are setting for them, and that's a very high standard, and it's an incredibly high standard in my mind of what is expected.
Looking at some of the veterans and long-term commitments, you guys made big expenses at receiver. Is it feasible to do that at corner as well, given where that market's at and where y'all have long-term?
Yeah, what's feasible going forward financially and with our players remains to be seen. We're going to try to keep as many good players as we can. That's our focus. It's always been our focus. How to fit it all together, that's the job of the folks upstairs to see what can happen there. And it's a two-way street there, too, a little bit.
Last time, Cassius, what is it about his game where arm length isn't as much of a factor coming off the edge?
Yeah, he's violent with his hands, and he's got a real pass rush arsenal. So you can't pigeonhole him if you're an offensive tackle, because he can beat you around the edge. He can come back underneath, and then just when you get comfortable there, he's going to bull rush you because he's really explosive when he gets into you. He's very aware of the ball, and then he's also excellent with counter rushes. So if his first plan doesn't work, he's got great counter rushes. He's really good in space. He's got a tenacious chase to him from the backside, so he's not awash against the run. It just works for him in the body that he's in. And he's had a really good kind of progression to that, figuring out his body and how to do it. And he was under-recruited. He was dismissed. He was down, and then he started to develop, and it really came together for him, which is a good sign of a guy that, it wasn't all handed to him. He had to go earn it.
The last time you did one of these, you said pass rush is king. How do you feel about your pass rush now?
Well, Dan, you always have a good memory, don't you?
That's about all I can remember.
It's still king, Dan. It's still king. Yeah, you want to be able to affect the other team's quarterback. You have to stop the run to get to those situations, and so we think we've addressed both those areas.
How deep is the 2026 draft?
How deep?
Yeah.
Well, it was deep enough for us to get 7 guys we really liked, so that was good. And
Were there positions that had more depth to them than others, in your opinions?
well, we had we had pretty good groups at every position. It's always a little touch and go in the first couple rounds because you end up dipping down into your third round graded guys, and so you're hoping to get one that filters down that you had second rounds on, and then as every draft goes, you get to the back of the third and the fourth round, and suddenly you're looking at guys graded higher than those rounds, and there was plenty of them. We easily could have made 4 more selections and been really happy with them.
What have the conversations been like with Joe Burrow? I know last time you said you guys stay in touch at the combine. What have the conversations been like as you went through free agency, going through the draft?
Yeah, I've talked to Joe a couple times. He's been busy. He's got a pretty busy calendar, and he's been playing flag football and all those things. But it's been good. Joe's positive, and he wants to help. He wants to be involved, and he believes in our team and his teammates and the guys that we've got coming in. So it's all good.
There's a lot of questions about his window and championship window. Obviously, you guys want to win, but how much more does that maybe aggression to put the best team out there, even more so when you have a guy you feel like is playing as well as he is right now?
I don't know that I could try any harder than I do every year to put the best team together. I mean, I've never gone into a year saying, well, we'll put a mediocre team out there and see what happens. I mean, my effort is 100% every year. So I don't know what goes beyond that, you know, and in terms of his championship window, he's already answered that for you. It's his whole career, so we're trying to put the best team together every year we can, and we really feel good about what came together for us in these past 2 months, and we'll keep attacking it as we go.
How did you try to
Always do
attack?
talk to Zach after free agency, but we haven't had a chance to get your comments. Could you talk about Boye, Jonathan, and Brian, and why those were three players that you really wanted to go after in free agency?
Yeah, championship caliber players who have played in big games that understand how to play. You know, the individual traits of them fit what we want to do and fit the vision of our coaching staff and fit the vision of what we have on the team already. You know, they're, you know, with Boye and Cook, they're young guys just hitting the stride of their career. So I don't even think they've hit their ceiling yet, and they've had a lot of success, and they've got championship rings, and they understand what it looks like. They fit physically what we want them to be, and you know, it's. We were very happy that they were interested in us and we could make it work out. We were really happy, and same thing with Jonathan Allen when he got released. You know, he was pointing at us, and you know, he's a guy that can rush from the three technique. Well, guess what? We wanted is more rush from that position, and he's a guy that will bring others along in that. It's important for us to have a wave of guys that you can continually throw in there, because that's a tough position group, and if it gets worn down, suddenly you get long drives and it becomes really problematic. We feel like we've got two waves of guys that we can bring in, and if you look at what Seattle did this year and what a lot of championship teams have done, they've had those waves of guys, and we feel like we're establishing that.
That defensive tackle room, how well does it fit together after adding Jonathan and Dexter with BJ and TJ?
I think, you know, we'll see how it fits together over time. You know, I'm not going to pronounce anything. We feel like we've got a lot of individual talent. It's got to come together as a group, and they've got to, you know, play as one. You know, you can be really talented and be out of position, and suddenly that doesn't look like you have any defensive line out there. So it's got to come together. I'm not going to pronounce that. They're going to work hard, and they know what it looks like. Most of our guys in the locker room know what it looks like. Now we've got to go do it, but I feel good about the potential of that group for sure.
What are the skills you really value in Brian Cook, signing him in free agency?
He's a physical guy. He's a good tackler. He's got ball awareness. He's got good range. He's got leadership skills. We liked him since he was playing at UC. He was a guy that was one of our risers in the draft that year as well. And so we've monitored him. We've played against him. We understand him. He's versatile. He can play down in the box. He can play deep. He's very aware of concepts coming at him.
How important are intangibles and intelligence when you're putting together your football team?
Well, I think they're pretty important. I think every good football team has a core group of guys that are leading the show, and they're out front of the parade, and they're showing others how to do it. So they're important traits to have. A lot of times those build after you start winning. You know, winning is the thing that makes everyone happy. It makes everyone buy in. If you're not winning, you know, it's hard to keep everybody together. And so our expectation is to win, grow as a group, and have fun at the end of the season.
How do you feel like Miles Murphy developed towards the end of last year? Where do you feel like he could be headed?
Miles, yeah, really came on. You know, he got a chance to really stay on the field and play, and that's when players that are young like him grow. And I think he doubled his play time last year from the previous year, and really great to see him come on. And he's a 24-year-old guy that's just starting to scratch the surface, and I was pleased with his progression last year and how he took ownership of the starting role and how he grew throughout the season. And by the end of the year, he was a problem for teams, and he's a guy that we believe in. He's going to be a big part of what Al and his staff does.
Have y'all made a decision on his fifth-year option with that deadline coming up?
Yeah, that's coming up this week, and now that the draft's over, we'll look and see what kind of costs we can layer in next year and what we can and can't do there. It'll be a financial decision primarily one way or the other, but he is a guy that we're counting on not only this year, we'd like a long-term relationship with him, but I don't know whether that comes together. Again, we've got really, we're at the top of the league in spending right now, and so we're gonna have to make it work, and we'll see what we do with that. But that'll be a decision we make as we dive into this week, looking at next year, and you know, we've got some cap ramifications there too with what we've done.
Did you guys enter the?
DJ and Jonathan Allen, they're both 31, and people even now with Lawrence, a little bit older, 7 years in. That position, we've seen a lot of older players thrive lately
Yeah.
in the league. Is that position different than many others in your eyes?
Oh,
to be able to help an
the
older player
great
back?
players, the really talented players, they tend to last longer than the other guys. And so you see that at every position group. You see it at quarterback. You see it at wide out. You see it at corner. There's older corners playing that are elite type players. They tend to last a little longer. I think, you know, in general, players are taking better care of their bodies. They're more in tune with it. You know, I think that they're maybe aging at a slower level than they used to. You know, maybe when the off season wasn't the off season we know it now. It was more of the off season that I would like to enjoy. You know, but not many players are enjoying that off season.
After having to add Flacco last season, this offseason, did you guys want to be more aggressive in backup quarterback? And then you obviously made the move to bring Flacco back.
Yeah, Joe, you know, when he comes in and proves that he can be a valuable piece for you, you want to get those guys back if you can. And we understood he wanted to look around a little bit, and that was great. We wanted him to get what he wanted. Ultimately, he wanted to be back here, and so we made that work. You know, again, there was ramifications with making that work, but we made that work, and we're happy to get him back. You know, we feel like he provides us, you know, a real chance if something were to happen to Joe, and we're hopeful nothing happens to Joe.
First time you guys ever drafted a guy from the academies, with Robinson. Why'd you do it? And what you know, he comes in he's got a lot of challenges being with the Navy. You know, he's not your regular guy. What did you see that maybe?
Yeah, I think the things that he brings, because he was in the Navy, are some of his most attractive traits. You know, leadership, discipline, command, work ethic, all the things that you would expect out of those guys. That's what he's all about. And highly productive. We got on him kind of early in the scouting year. Liked what we saw. He got invited to the East-West game. Coach Montgomery was assigned to the East-West game, so he coached him. Really liked him, and you know, we brought him in here. We went to his pro day. All the things, you know, he just kept building over the process, and you're just a guy that he's got a ton of versatility, and I don't put any limits on where he plays and what he does, and he'll be another young guy coming in, earning his way, and I think he'll give us everything he has to earn that, and we'll see how he does. But I was really excited to get a chance to pick him, and you know, he's an impressive person, and you guys will get to know him.
Duke, there was a lot of conversation about kind of you, the front office, kind of how the team had been built. You say every year, you know, you want to do everything you can to put a good roster out there. What have these last few months been like for you as you kind of had?
Busy. The last 2 months have been very busy, but it's a fun work because you're looking at a lot of options that can improve our situation, and so it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and not everything comes together, and you just keep moving forward, and you get new opportunities, and sometimes you feel the new opportunities were even better than your old opportunities, and you just got to keep working the process, and that's what our scouts did, and it's just, they did an amazing job of getting us pointed to the right guys and then getting those guys in the building. I can't say enough about the job that they did. And it's a lot of work. It's a thankless job, but it's a highly important job, and those guys are very important to us. So,
You mentioned to that extent, Duke, we got to hear from Steve, Trey, and Mike over the weekend. That's maybe a small matter to some people, but I think to you, that's a big deal that they got to explain all of their work over, like you said, the last 3 months.
well, I'm proud of the jobs that they do, and I believe that they're some of the highest level guys in the league. They've just earned that. In my mind, they've earned that. They're much better looking than I am, so they're better for you guys to look at too. But they're very good at their job, and they're the ones that should be down here talking about the players because, and again, it goes beyond just those three. It goes to the rest of the scouting staff and even the new ones that we've added. It was a really good collaborative group, and there isn't ego amongst them. They're working together. They're not looking for credit. They're looking to build the Cincinnati Bengals the best it could be built.
You laid it on the line sitting there right after the season. Defense. Compare that to 3 months ago. How do you feel about your defense today?
I'm hopeful that it becomes one of the dominant defenses in the NFL. That's what we want on all of our. We want the most dominant special teams group. We want the most dominant offense, and we want the most dominant defense. We've got a lot of guys who understand what a dominant defense looks like because they played in them over the years. And so I'm very hopeful that that comes together in a way that will elevate us to where we want to get.
You make the trade with the Jets, and you have that stack of players. What's the feeling for that half hour or whatever between pick 110 or 109 when you made the trade to 128 when you take over?
The same anxiety that's going on for 3 days. Yeah. It's anxiety for 3 days, and you put a plan together, and some other team might have that same plan and be picking ahead of you. And some years you get lucky and you get fortunate that the guy you really, really want, and there might be 5 you want, and the guy you really, really want falls to you. And there are some years he never does, and you have to be ready. That's where the work comes in. You have to be ready to pivot. And the pivot could be a trade if it's on the table, if there's somebody that wants to trade with you. And it could be we go to the next guy, and the next guy is a good pick too. And so there's a lot of work that you put into second and third and fourth and fifth options in the draft. And you hope to stay on your first one, but it doesn't always come that way.
Talk about sticking to the process. Is it harder or easier or difficult, more difficult when there's more perception of pressure, or do you feel any extra pressure when you go through that process? What's that like, maybe this offseason compared to other ones, given all the noise that's kind of been around the franchise?
I don't worry about the noise. The pressure is always there. That's this business. The pressure to win. That's what we're in it for. If anybody doesn't want that, they shouldn't be working in this industry. There's pressure. So, it exists. It's always there. There's excitement, and there's frustration, and there's jubilation, but there's always pressure. And you accept that when you step into this line of work. And so maybe it becomes a little numbing because it's always there, but it's always there.
What was the
What was it
excitement
about
level? What was the excitement level on that Saturday when you get the Dexter deal done? And was there anxiety because he was coming in for a physical and everything that comes with the trade?
Well, you want him to come in and be what we think he is and be healthy, and he was. And so that was good. It's part of the trade, and you have to be aware that it might not be that case, but everything we knew about pointed that he was. And it's just a matter of everything coming together. It was a multi-layered negotiation. It wasn't just cut and dry and it's done. A lot of things had to come together, from Dexter's end, from the New York Giants, and from the Cincinnati Bengals, and fortunately it all did.
When was the first time Dexter's name ever came up in a conversation here? Was
I
it-
don't know, back at Clemson, probably his junior
This
year.
offseason, as somebody, like in a real conversation, I mean, was this something that you said, well, I don't know, there's a possibility we could do that? Or was it truly something that just kind of came together in a couple of weeks?
Oh, I think the awareness of the possibility was out there before that. But, once you dive in and try to commit to trying to do it, the commitment to try to do it is the first thing. And we got together and met, and there was a firm commitment to, well, let's see where this goes. It wasn't in the original plan, but let's see where it goes. And if it goes, then we're going to layer in challenges, but we're willing to do that. And it all went. They don't all come together. A lot of them that you never hear about almost got done, but did not.
What did you think seeing Trey Hendrickson in a Ravens uniform?
Oh, I don't think much about that anymore. I'm moved to this year and what we have, and looking forward to seeing, Boye and Cassius and our new guys in our uniforms more than anything.
What was the first?
Sorry.
Go ahead, Butch. What was the first round like? I mean, sitting there.
Boring. Yeah.
What were you doing?
I was crossing names off like I always do. It's interesting to be in that spot because you're hopeful that there's anxiety and pressure there too. But you're hopeful that guys who you feel like might be in your range don't get picked here, don't get picked here, don't get picked here, and then you go to bed at night and you're like, holy cow, we got a pretty good list here. And then you order those, and then you talk yourself into the guy at the top of the list was never going to get to us, and some years they do.
You mentioned in January your ability to steer decisions and maybe taking a look at changing that a bit. Did that change at all over the last 2 months when you approached anything? Just that stood out in January. You said that.
I'm trying to remember what I said now. Steering decisions. If they go wrong, it's on me because I got us pointed in the wrong way. We do it collaboratively, though, and I try to lead in the right way, and I try to empower people who have done the most work to be heavy voices in what we're doing. And it's certainly not a one-person show. I want to hear from everybody all the time, and I want to hear from the guys that have done the work. I do not want to hear from the guys who have not done the work that want to weigh in, but I want to hear from the guys who put the year of work in and how they believe they will fit with us. Those are the most important opinions I get. Ultimately, I have to say this one, not that one, but it's driven by the people who have put the work in, and we've got guys that are really, really good at it.
You mentioned layering in the costs, Duke. What about, does that impact your desire, your wantingness to extend guys like Dax Hill and
The desire will always be to keep guys. It's how to fit it together, and that's something that we'll be going through. The draft's over now. We've got some time to look at the forecast on where we are. We know where we are. We've layered in a lot of cost, and there are restrictions on what you can do there. And when you're sitting at the top of the league and spending, it's pretty restrictive. But we'll see what can be done, if anything can be done. We're focused on this year, and the guys are all under contract this year, and that's the focus. And then we'll try to see what comes after that.
Is adding a veteran linebacker realistic given the cost and the spend this offseason?
I will always look at adding the right guy. But again, I am not down on our linebackers. I think that their play individually will improve and collectively will improve by what we've done and the experience that they've gained. If there are people that we think can add to the group, we'll add to the group. We're not done roster building. There's an entire offseason, then there's training camp, then there's cut downs, then there's practice squads, then there is practice squad poaches, and then there's trades, and then, you're never done roster building. But I feel very good about our roster as it sits right now.
Any kind of curiosity, who was there at 10? Any kind of curiosity?
Would I, you're asking, am I gonna tell you who we would have taken
No, I'm
if we
just
would have
saying.
stayed at 10 based on this?
I'm just
The
saying,
answer,
it's
the answer is no, there was a lot of good players. There are good players. It's the top of the draft and there were a lot of worthy guys that could have been Bengals, but, Dexter Lawrence is a Bengal and I'm very happy about that.
Just for clarity, you've said this a few times, top of the league in spending. Are you guys number one right now?
We haven't run I haven't individually run all the numbers, but if we're not, we're damn close.
Have you approached Joe Burrow about a restructure? Is that something you would do?
Oh, those are things that we're working through after the draft. And again, we've layered in challenges, but we're up to them. And we do it because we got the opportunity to add the right people and the right players. And those are challenges that the locker room isn't interested in. They're interested in having the best team possible. And that's what we're trying to give them, is the best team possible.
Good.
Right?
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you guys. Thanks.